to the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you all for being here today, and thank you Christina Rees, Shadow Secretary of State for Wales, for being here today and the work she's doing, and what a great Secretary of State for Wales she's going to make. We are 78 hours into the general election campaign. And this is the 6th campaign event we've already done. We're out on the road taking our message to the whole of the country. Taking a message that 7 years of this Tory government and the coalition, what's it brought us? Greater inequality, greater poverty, greater insecurity, greater misery, greater levels of fear. Every time they told us they would pay off the debt and the deficit, it was always 5 years away. It's a 5-year plan that's always 5 years in the future. As they continue to cut the budgets of English local authorities and the health service, underfund the government of Wales, and damage the life chances. Damage the life chances of those with disabilities, damage the life chances of so many others. Our task, our job as Labour is to challenge them. Our task, our job as Labour is to make sure we go out and win this election. So if the media tell you one thing, listen to this. Within a few hours of this election being called, within literally a few hours, 2,500 people have joined the Labour Party. And yesterday and today, thousands more are joining the Labour Party. And tomorrow will be called Flying Start Saturday, as we ask all of our 500,000 members to go out on the streets, to go out in every city, town and village and give that message out, as Corbyn so rightly put it, that we are the party of hope, of opportunity for everybody, not one. Under the Tories and the Lib Dems, what has happened? What has happened? 1 million workers across the whole country are on 0 hours contracts, not knowing what their pay is going to be from one week to the other. They wake up every morning looking for a text message to see if they got a job that day or not. 6 million across the whole of the UK, 6 million earning less than the living wage. And in schools in England, where the Tory cuts have been biting the hardest, what are they doing? Spending money on grammar schools and free schools, and slicing the money from the normal state schools. So schools are collecting money from their parents in England in order to buy the books. In Wales it's different, because you've got a government that's determined to properly fund education and give That is despite the 9 billion cut the Tories have made to the Welsh Government's budget. There is a difference, and Labour is that difference. And so we have been announcing some policies over the last few days, and we'll be announcing more, and our manifesto will be out at the beginning of May. But I just tell you this, listen to some of them. We want everybody to be properly paid in this country. This is low-wage, underpaid Britain that we're living in at the present time. Therefore, we are very serious about a £10 an hour living wage for everybody across the UK. We're serious about it because of the levels of poverty, inequality and injustice that exist. And I have been to living wage employers and thanked them for what they've done. I've thanked and applauded those councils that have used their powers of purchasing to insist their supplier companies pay a living wage. That is the kind of strategy a Labour government would operate. We are not going to spend £200 billion of public money across the whole of the UK without making sure those companies employ people properly, pay people properly, train people properly, and make a contribution that we can all benefit from. And John McDonnell has announced what we're going to do on tax transparency, so that big companies will not be allowed some cosy negotiation with the HMRC on their tax level. Instead, it will all be public. So the rigged Britain, the rigged economy, the cosy Britain of an elite that gives jobs to each other, the revolving door, and all those things, we want to put an end to that, to make sure the hopes, ideas, aspirations and ambitions of everybody can be met in a fair way. So I tell you this, children across Britain growing up in damp, cold, overcrowded, private rented flats, moving house every few months as happens in some parts of Britain, they tend to underachieve in school. They don't become the engineers, the doctors, the lawyers. They don't become people that can develop themselves because they're living in such poverty and underachieving in school. I applaud what the Welsh Government has done in making sure that every child in a Welsh school is properly fed. I want to roll that out across the whole of Britain, so that every child in every school in every part of Britain gets a free school meal together with all the other children in the school. But you know what? Children that are properly fed learn better and achieve better. Children that are better housed learn well and achieve better. That is what the Labour Party was founded to achieve. And that is what a Labour government will achieve. And then, for older people all over Britain, living in poverty in some cases, those women, the WASPy women, who feel they've been shortchanged by this government and what the coalition did before them, and those that are now worried that Theresa May seems incapable of answering any question about the protection of the triple lock on the state pension. Well, I give you that commitment now. Labour will maintain the triple lock. Labour will take the because those that have contributed all their lives do not deserve to live in insecurity and fear as older people. But it's also about how we treat older people in our society, the levels of loneliness, the lack of respect that's so often shown. I want a society which you can't legislate for all of it, but a society where people work together to aspire to something good for the entire community. That means using the knowledge, the wisdom and the values of older people, as well as the enthusiasm and ambition of younger people. Communities working together. The mining communities all across Wales knew that through the principles of the miners' welfares, as in many other industries and across the country. It's that sense of community. You only achieve that sense of community if people come together in a common endeavour to achieve something good, and we're determined to do that. There are also so many who are wanting, needing social care, don't get it because the money isn't there. Many have to give up jobs in order to look after loved relatives because there's nobody else to do it. And many people often having to remain in hospital longer than's necessary because the social care isn't available for them. Now there is an answer to that, and that is to properly fund social care to ensure that there is dignity for those that need it. Dignity for those that need it is for me very, very important. And again, I applaud the work the Welsh Government has done on this. There's another aspect to health which isn't often talked about, but I am absolutely determined and emphatic it will be, and it always will be, and that is the mental health crisis that's facing the whole of the UK. One in four of us in this lovely park this afternoon will experience some degree of stress or depression during our lives. That's how it is. We will, for lots of reasons. Some of us will suffer alone and we'll be afraid to talk about it. Some of us won't get any help or support at all. And particularly young people will often feel very isolated, very alone and very frightened of talking about it. As a Labour movement and as a party, we can do something about it by encouraging people to at least understand it and reach out to each other. As a health service everywhere, we've got to properly fund our mental health services. Schools and colleges have to provide that mental health support that's there and necessary. And that's why I appointed Barbara Keeley to be in the shadow cabinet round that table to represent social care and mental health issues. We take these issues very, very seriously indeed. And then there are other policies that are coming out, but I just tell you this about industrial policy and rights at work. We're very clear that Britain is an important country. Britain is a wealthy country. Britain is a powerful country. And I think the very least we can offer everyone in work is adherence to International Labour Organisation conditions of work and rights at work. And so there will be positive rights to join the trade union under a Labour government. There will be a value for workers under a Labour government. But above all, there will be an investment-led economy under a Labour government. An investment bank that works for all parts of Britain. The Welsh Government is already underway with that. Already underway with pressure to get better investment in transport and other infrastructure, and those regional investment banks we'll be setting up will be doing much the same thing, but better resourced and funded to achieve it. We need to upgrade our infrastructure. We need to invest in new, sustainable energy and green industries of the future. There's so much more we can achieve. You achieve that if you're a government determined to achieve equality and justice across the whole of the UK. We are negotiating with the European Union to make sure this country has tariff-free access to the European market to protect jobs and conditions across this country. We will not tear up the workers' rights agenda. We will not tear up any of those things that we've achieved. We are determined to maintain that intelligent relationship which guarantees jobs. Because if we didn't, then what happens? Jobs will be lost in the manufacturing industry. And Theresa May's approach of threatening Europe with a tax haven on the shores of Europe is not a very sensible way of talking to your neighbours. We have reached out to socialist colleagues all across the continent to work with them for the future, work with them to achieve a sensible, quality trade arrangement with Europe. That is our Labour offer. And I say this, we're a party of 500,000 members. We're a party that was founded in the poverty and oppression of the 19th century. We're a party that achieved great things. Council housing, the National Health Service, we achieved these things. And the principles of the National Health Service were born in the valleys of Wales where Aneurin and Bevan grew up. The principle that a community should care for all. And so we also achieved the Equalities Act, the Human Rights Act. We achieved the Race Relations Act. We outlawed discrimination on the basis of age, gender, sexuality, race or ethnicity. Those achievements came not handed down from above. They came from us the people, as a movement, as a party, using our power in Parliament to bring that about. So when we vote until the 8th, yes, we'll be electing Labour MPs, yes, we'll be voting for Labour candidates, but we'll be voting for the principles of the kind of world and kind of society we want to live in. a world of human rights, peace and social justice, a society based on the needs of people and equality, a society that says everybody, and I mean everybody, has a contribution to make. We make that contribution by a tax system that's fair, so those with the broadest shoulders bear the greatest burden, and those that need the greatest help get the greatest help. I am frankly fed up and ashamed with the idea that 21st century Britain is a country of homelessness and food banks. It's wrong, it's not necessary, it's a question of treating people with respect. Young people going to school need the opportunities and the chances. They don't need to be frightened of going to university in England because of the high rates of fees they have to pay. They don't need to be put off education by the level of debt they suffer at the end of it. And it's also about cultural freedoms and how we value culture. And from my point of view, I'm very strongly in favour of an arts premium for every child in every school across the whole country. So that artistic development is there as well. So what Labour offers is something very, very different to what the Tories offer. They offer protection of the wealth extractors in order to improve the lives of the wealth extractors. We offer the riches of the country for the people of the country. Our view, our approach is one about sharing opportunities and creating those opportunities. That's what our party was born of, and in the 21st century, that is what we're going to achieve. So I urge all of you, tomorrow, today even, get out there on the doorsteps of campaigning for the elections now that are taking place for the councils, but also stay out there on those doorsteps. We've got 48 days to get to every doorstep in the country. We start tomorrow with the first 1 million leaflets. We increase our party membership even further. And as a party, we will be totally united in this campaign. Totally united in this campaign. The Tories and the coalition have hit the poorest the hardest and not touched the rich at all. A Labour government utterly committed to peace, justice and equality is something we offer. I urge you to come with us on this journey of hope and excitement, not the journey of fear and misery, which is all the Tories offer. Thank you very much indeed.